And welcome to the Business Spotlight. I'm your host, Patrick Dewar. We have a fabulous show today. Today we're going to be talking about a subject that for business owners, in my opinion, may be one of the best tools that you've ever heard on this show, and that is how to attract lucrative clients in a referral-based method. My guest today is an expert at that. She's been doing it for more than a few years. Over 20 years, she has created over $230 million worth of business in her networking groups, the CEO Network Partners in the Dallas and the Houston area. And I have to tell you, I have been so thrilled to have her on the show and then for her to be sharing through the show tips, tools, techniques that you could implement in your business right now to create what looks to me like an endless supply of referrals for your business. Jeannie, thank you so much for being on the show.
Well, thank you for inviting me, Pat. I just love being here.
Well, thank you. I want to get into your story. I always like to start with that. You know, tell us how you got to where you're at and how you really just where did this whole networking thing begin?
Well, I was a certified financial planner here in Dallas and wanted to generate more business for my financial planning practice and was not allowed to join a network group, so I decided to start my own. And over a 10-year period, I actually started 6 different network groups because I would start one and then build a culture and I'd get an idea to make it more productive. And so finally in February of 1988, I did it as a business, and it's called CEO Network Partners. And it spread national in 1992 because a financial advisor with one of the leading national wirehouses joined my group, and within 3 years from starting, she was where someone should have been in 5 years. And so that firm sent a camera crew to Dallas to do a training on how you use a network group for a financial advisor, financial planner. And I was launched national. I had a national organization for a while.
That is awesome. And I know that some of the keys and the tools, you've actually developed a system for maximizing the networking experience. Because a lot of, in the Dallas-Fort Worth area especially, and I know it's everywhere else, but here, networking is kind of, a lot of times the people that join networking groups don't have enough business to keep themselves busy. But you created networking groups that were high impact, high influence. I mean, you were attracting the best people, so to speak. How did you do that? What were the principles that you created this thing with?
Well, before I get to the principles, I think the first thing was to decide, like, this financial advisor came to me and she wanted her clients had to have $500,000 of investable assets.
Right.
And so we looked at, okay, who served that community, and we invited those professions to join us, and we looked to get the top ones in the city to do that, and that's what we're doing in Houston as well. But we have 4 basic principles, and the first 3 a lot of network groups use, but I think the 4th one is the kicker. So I'll give you the first 3 first. The first one is the rule of 250. So everybody has approximately 250 in their sphere of influence. The second one I call the rule of specific targeting. And it's very counterintuitive, but the more specific you are, the better it is to get a referral right now. The third one is what I call the rule of equal exchange. And so by putting something out, you motivate someone, you inspire someone to give something back to you. Most network groups, or the successful ones, use those, but I think the kicker is the rule of emotional impact. When you can get your message out so they get it emotionally, and they're kind of turned on, they kind of feel vicariously like a client felt, then they go on automatic for you. It's dynamite.
That is really excellent. So the 4 principles again are, one is?
The rule of 250, so that know that people have a sphere of influence.
Second?
The rule of specific targeting, be very specific in who you want to meet.
Third?
the rule of equal exchange. Do something for the other person. Could be give a referral, it could be help them in any way, so they are motivated to give back to you.
And the fourth one is?
The rule of emotional impact. Tell your story with a lot of emotion so they get it.
So this is actually something you even train groups on, and
That's right.
whole organizations, where you'll go in and work with their leaders, mid-level and up management, typically, to train them to teach their frontline guys and gals to really create something that is, well, it attracts an endless supply of referrals. And we'll talk about it as we go into this, the next segment. We're going to talk about how valuable the referral is in comparison to the dialing for dollars, cold call, ouch, unfunness that most of us have had to deal with.
Right.
But as we're kind of coming to the end of this segment, next time what we'll be talking about is what you do to create the success you're having. We'll be right back. And welcome back to the Business Spotlight. Patrick Dewar here. We've got Jeannie Fuller in the room today, and we are talking about ways to create an endless supply of referrals for you and your business. Jeannie, thanks again for being here.
Oh, thank you.
I want to get into more about what you're doing to create the success that you're having, because I know you're doing a great deal of training, speaking, and presenting around the country to organizations that have a sales force, typically a fairly significant sales force, that they need to know how to get out of the old, in a sense, dialing for dollars, oh my God, please stop this is a rat race that just is unfun, to you said you had one client that was at in 3 years was able to do what most people couldn't do in 5.
That's correct.
Awesome. So tell me about your...
Well, I'd like to tell you a story, Pat. I was training, again, in one of the financial investment firms in Rochester, New York. And this gentleman who walked in, very tall, had hair the color of mine, he'd been around a while. And as he went by me...
Some of us have been around a while.
Yeah, I know. So he said, I hope this is going to be different. And I'm going, oh my gosh. So I'm up there putting all the energy, and I like gestures anyway. And when I got through, I found out from the regional VP that he had been in the firm for 33 years, and he ranked number 5 out of 14,000 people.
Wow.
Well, in a couple of weeks, he gave me a call, and he said, Jeannie, this stuff works. It really works. I'm going, good, because I'm staking my life on it, you know? And so what he had done, his first client that morning had been Steve, and he used my principles. So the first thing when Steve came in, he said, Steve, before we get into today's work, I just want to know what's going on. What's going on at the plant? What's happening for you? And he found a need, a problem that Steve was facing, and stopped the interview and called the other advisor, got that all set up. And then he highlighted what he had done for Steve over 10 years. And then he made a few suggestions. Steve took his suggestions, and as Steve is leaving and walked him to the door, he turned around and he said, Lyle, I really appreciate you taking those few moments, when I first came in and calling that other advisor. I'm going to call him when I get back to the plant. Is there anything at all I could do for you? And Lyle says, well, as a matter of fact, there is. Even though I've been very successful, I'm still looking for more clients. And he said, I'm looking for somebody, about 52, 53 years old, probably lives on the north side of town. Kids are in college, may own a manufacturing plant. And I really like to deal with macho kind of guys. It's the kind of guy who would drive a a Jeep Grand Cherokee. He's probably a hunter, and he's got a golden retriever in the back seat. And the guy came up with 3 referrals right then. And this was a guy using all the training his firm had given him for 10 years, never came up with anyone. And when Lyle walked him to the elevator, and when he got on, he held out the door, you know, and said, listen, Lyle, as soon as we get you those 3, I'll take you to my trade association. There's 28 more guys over there. They all have more assets than I do. And I'll help you get those as well. 31 referrals.
Sweet. Very nice.
So there's 3 elements, and that's what I teach. The first one I say is inspire. He inspired Steve to give him a referral by doing something for him. The second thing is he taught him how to recognize a prospect with 52 years old, golden retriever, Jeep Grand Cherokee, very specific. And the third one, he really gave him the message. He taught him how to recommend by going over the highlights of what they'd accomplished in 10 years. So it's inspire, recognize, and recommend. And they all pull together to give you control over getting referrals.
And so with that system, the client, well, they finally got it. And then they were able to open the doors. And it sounds like one of the things that's real significant here is that you're training people to send referrals the right way with their influence brought to bear.
Absolutely.
Not just, oh, call Bob, he's a good guy.
No names and phone numbers. Let's either person to person, some of my people take to lunch, or they might give them a phone call, or they're just talking with them and something comes up and they say, oh, have you had Pat Dewar? Let me tell you about Pat. And that's where that emotional impact thing comes in. So it's really cool.
Well, I've been really excited about it. I'm a member of the Dallas CEO Partners group, and I've loved it. I mean, great people. They really get it. They understand
Thanks.
exactly how to give a referral, and it's never just, hey, so-and-so, It's, oh, just a second, let me get him on the line. Hey, Bob, okay, you need to meet my friend. Here, let me give you the phone, and they'll make the introduction right then. It's an excellent concept. It's a great training, and I know when we get into this next segment, we're going to talk about really who's the ideal client for you.
Okay.
Because what I want to know is, I want our audience to know how to find the right people for you to talk to and for you to share this message with. And I will tell you, you'll want to be back with us. So stay tuned. We'll be right back. It's the Business Spotlight. And welcome back to the Business Spotlight. I'm Patrick Dewar. My guest today, Jeannie Fuller. Jeannie is a master at helping you, if you're a business owner, understand how to attract an endless stream of referrals. I don't know about you, but if you had your friends selling for you to their friends, does anybody go, oh my God, that's the perfect answer to a business solution? Yeah. Jeannie, thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
I want to get into, you speak to a lot of groups, and you are trying to get the message out. Look, guys, you don't have to do it the old-fashioned way. You also need to realize the personal element, because technology is fun, and there's a lot of what I call Gen Xers or millennials, and if you're in that group, you know your name. And you know, they're anybody that's 45 and below, Gen X to 35 and below 30-ish, then they're the millennials. And the thing is that if everybody needs the personal touch and the personal introduction. So who are you trying to reach, and really how would we identify that person for you?
Well, you know, most people like to say the whole world, but being very specific targeting, I've traditionally worked a lot with financial advisors, financial planners, and I really enjoy meeting the branch manager or the regional person so that I have video training now that they can use in their meetings, and then I go periodically to kind of help with the implementation. I've also trained in law firms and accounting firms, so they have to do referrals. And our method is very low-key, schmooze. Sometimes they ask me what I do. I say, well, I help you schmooze your way to business. So that works really well with me, and I like to preferably see the managing partner who wants to increase business. And actually, a managing partner after I did an accounting firm said, you know, after you've been here, marketing doesn't look like marketing anymore. It's part of the way we do business.
That's exactly
right. So
right.
that's the key.
Well, and I know, I mean, really, a good friend of mine always uses the phrase, everything is marketing and marketing is everything. And so if you can get people to raise their hand and say, tell me more, that's 90% of the battle. And what you're doing is you're training your people to introduce each other to their best.
That's right.
And you're giving them the keys to the kind of kingdom. In fact, I described it earlier when we were talking about this as a kind of a skeleton key, a master key that unlocks this endless flood of referrals that are the right people. And didn't you even do some, I remember talking to you about it, some research you did on how valuable a referral is versus a cold call?
Oh yeah, I was talking with one of my clients, and he said that he had taken a list of all of his clients, and that he put a list over here of the ones he enjoyed working with, and here were the ones he didn't like working with. And he looked at the man, everything was just about the same, and then he realized that all the ones he enjoyed came from a referral, a real live, we're going to say endorsement,
right,
recommendation, and the ones over here that he didn't like all came from cold prospecting. Isn't that amazing?
That
I mean,
is.
They come in with a trust level, you know?
Well, that's such a key. You just hit it. You said, you know, one came in with the endorsement and the trust factor of, my good friend Bob recommended you. So if you're one of the, if he says you're one of the good guys, then you must be one of the good guys because he says there's only a few of them left. So in your training, you're actually giving them those keys, aren't you?
I am.
And so when they're coming in, they're finding the ways to really attract the right people to them. What are some of the, who else, I mean, like, do you want to speak at conventions? Do you want to speak at, in front of just larger, I know the size of the corporation that you typically would like to work for is, what, how many salespeople normally?
Well, you know, I'd love to work with big national ones, but where I really shine, I believe, is in their branch offices with about 50 people.
So 50 at a time, but typically a branch office, they might have 2,000 or 3,000 sales reps around the country, but you would be able to mentor each of the kind of mid-level management.
And I've learned over the years that I just don't go in and do a seminar. I can't change behavior. So we'll do the workshop, but it's got to follow up with implementation. And I give them some things they can do in-house, and then I come back and do another program to keep the implementation going. And I like at least a 90-day commitment. Most of them are about 6 months.
Well, I wouldn't doubt that, because I've seen that model over and over in the past. Somebody that comes in and they say, here's a training, and they kind of throw it out there to the group. Well, only about 15% of what they say actually shows up, is implemented. And so what that means is that you end up with, by doing the follow-up, you're able to internalize a big portion of what somebody has hired or essentially purchased in the way of training. They've purchased that training from you. Now they're finally getting it in their people. So as we come back from the break, we're going to talk about how to connect to Jeannie, how to get her material and really begin the process of internalizing it in your group. This is the Business Spotlight. I'm Pat Dewar. We'll be right back. And welcome to the Business Spotlight. This is Pat Dewar. Jeannie Fuller is my guest today. We're talking about ways to create more referrals. In fact, I'd even say kind of fire hydrant type of, well, okay, maybe not quite the fire hydrant. I know some of you are going, right, Pat. No, but what if we're able to do 3, 4, 5 extra referrals a month by training you how to train your people? Jeannie, thank you so much. I want to get into how people can connect to you. Where do you want them to go?
Well, I would love for them to come to my new website, which I'm giving away a free ebook.
Very good.
And the title of the ebook is How to Sidestep the 7 Costly Networking Mistakes and Attract Lucrative Prospects. So that website is 7, networkingmistakes.com.
Very good, and it's on the screen so they can read it there.
Oh, good, good.
And they've got your phone number, and your phone number is the 713 number?
713-702-6331.
But they're going to get the ebook. That'll get them started. That'll also give them the opportunity, give you the opportunity to touch base with them afterwards. It's a great book, and I know when I looked at that, I sat there and all I could see was lucrative.
That's a good word.
Lucrative referrals. I'll connect those two in my mind. You know, it's just about lucrative referrals. But it is, isn't it?
Yes.
And
it's establishing influence in order to increase affluence.
Very good. I've heard that before. I don't know where, but
yeah, I think we talked about that before.
We did talk about that before. But it is. You increase influence, you'll increase affluence. It's a byproduct, isn't it?
It is.
And when people begin to get engaged with you, what are the things, the pieces to that puzzle that you want to make sure that they get? They get your training, they get the book. What else do you want them to do?
Yeah, I didn't mention that I wrote a book several years ago, and it's called Winning the Referral Game. And recently, when I ran out of books, I reread it thinking I would have to rewrite it to have it printed again, and I liked it. So
yeah, it was still good.
I think that's amazing, you know, when it's been a few years. So Winning the Referral Game, I have that available. And I'm putting little video modules that people can sign up for and have a subscription so they can use maybe one a week. I think like 37 minutes a week and do a little lesson and go along. So if they order the ebook, then we'll lead them to the video. And I am also putting videos for a branch manager in a company to train new people so that they've got a short little video and materials of what to talk about before the video and worksheets and all of that.
But see, the one key that you're doing that is so important, Jeannie, is that you're imparting, is the way that I look at it, imparting the information. You're not just dispensing information.
Well, my distinction over the years is, it's probably been my biggest goal, was to help them get it emotionally, because if they've got it, and I don't know how better to say that, then they implement. If they just understand it, it goes right through. I had one branch manager want me to do a 20-minute sales meeting, and that was it. And I said, well, if the goal is to change behavior, forget it. I mean, I think I can do a pretty good job, but can't do that.
But isn't that like somebody giving one vitamin? Okay, here's one a day, but you're going to take one in
period.
What? Yeah, period.
Or one a month or something.
Hello, I mean, come on, guys.
It's
got to be something that is line upon line. You know, you're instilling this stuff in the people. And what's cool is that you're doing it to the leaders first.
Yes, and when they get it. The other thing that I am just rolling out is I want to help all the network groups that are out there, and they're trying so hard. So I'm preparing video lessons for the leaders in how to run the network group and what makes it successful, and then a series teaching 6 different skill sets to the members, and they can buy the package and get their network group off, and maybe they can give me a little challenge on this $230 million in sales.
I think that would be awesome. I know that when I look at what you've created in Dallas and Houston and then nationwide is a really great piece of training. And when networking, if you're not strategic, which you started off with, we picked who we wanted to target.
Absolutely.
Then you tend to troll, is what's called, right?
Right.
So let me just kind of review the 4 keys, 4 principles again.
Rule of 250.
Rule of 250.
Rule of specific targeting. Rule of equal exchange, and the rule of emotional impact.
And they can get that at. They can get your ebook at
7networkingmistakes.com, and we'll teach them how to sidestep those networking mistakes.
And really turn on the faucet, right?
Could I just give you one of the little things for networking is just a sequence that they're not, I think they have to establish intrigue rather than explain what they do. And once the person is intrigued and says, tell me more, then they intensify their value. So now they're getting more into the explanation, hopefully a story, and then finally the person ends up inspired to meet with them.
That is awesome. That is, I will tell you, that is a great tool, Jeannie, and I know that anybody watching this is going to gain a great deal of real understanding on how to create an endless supply of referrals. The Business Spotlight is really about giving business owners the opportunity to tell their story, to let their audience, their prospects, see who they are, to know what they can do for them. Jeannie, thank you again.
Thank you.
Folks, we'll be back next time with more of the Business Spotlight. I'm Pat Dewar. We'll talk to y'all next time.